Welcome everybody to Unpack with Leah. Today I'm sitting with Eyal Dahan. Eyal is somebody that I came to know through October 7th, through his many efforts in helping soldiers and helping wounded families. Many of us know in the LA community that Eyal just dropped everything and went to Israel. And today we're going to talk about that whole process and what led you to do that. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Okay, yeah. So you're in Shul, I'm assuming.
I'm in October 7th,
Yeah.
October 6th here. I was in the sukkah at my friend's house.
Okay.
And it happened to be that a few days before that, my son Nathaniel had surprised us, and I surprised him by bringing his head commander. So
Here.
to here. So we were in the sukkah. I had my son Daniel, who just finished the military his service in August. He was in Thailand and then came for the holidays.
Okay, and Nathaniel was in the middle, but he got a break.
Nathaniel Sadir, yes, he was in the Yamas unit, and
Okay.
he got a little breather because before the war he was nonstop. Yamas is
Right.
intense. It was October 7th every day. What he goes through. So he got a breather, but at the same time I surprised him with his commander from the unit.
That came here for the Chagim.
For the Chagim. This commander actually has not left the villages for 11 years. He didn't do a Kippur, a Pesach, a Shavuot. He was in the villages, and that was the time that I brought him in for a breather.
Wow. Okay. So you brought them here. You're at your friend's house. You're with the commander. You're with your son Nathaniel.
The whole family's in the
whole
sukkah.
family's in the sukkah.
We're having a great time. It's around, I think it was around 8 something p.m., I believe, 8:30, and then my son's commander pulls out his phone because it kept going off and off, and he's like, yo, 20 Abugim, 20 died. I'm like, dude, stop exaggerating. That's what that was like. It was like I just spit that out, and then he gets out of the sukkah and he's texting because his unit, and they're all being called up to
reserves.
No, not the reserves, to go and go help the situation. And then it was just like that. And then we get home, and Nathaniel gets the call that he's got to get on the plane, and his commander also.
Right.
And they got to be back now. So we start. It's Friday night, and there was like, he started showing me videos on his phone of crazy things that happened, of a soldier being beheaded by a shovel and people running and being shot. The whole Nova Festival. It was just like.
So I remember also because I have two sisters who live in Israel, and one of my sisters surprised. We were having my family here, and she decided she was going to surprise us from Israel. She came
Wow.
like 2 or 3 days
before
October 7th. And all of a sudden she's on her phone and she's like, she's crying and she's like, I can't believe it. I can't believe what they're doing there. And the phone just kept going and going and going and going. And it was just unfathomable. Like until like, I think I saw it with my own eyes on Instagram, on Telegram, on Google, whatever I was searching, like I didn't actually believe what was going on because the things that they were saying, the things that they were doing were just unimaginable.
Well, yeah, it was crazy. It was something that we couldn't even imagine in a movie.
Right. So then your son Nathaniel went back, Commander went back.
Immediately, yeah, they got on the Sunday morning flight, and he went straight into battle. Daniel, I see the room closed on Saturday at 6 p.m., and I hear him in his room bursting and crying. So I'm not understanding what's going on. And then I knock on the door quietly. I give him the space. He's like, Abba, I got to get on the next flight. My commander was killed. Ariel Ben Moshe was killed. This was like someone I ate with, I drank with. He was with me. He taught me everything I know. But we've been to many operations beforehand. October 7th was a war, but there was always a lot of things going on before that. Yeah.
And your boys are in elite units where
Sayarat Tzanchanim and Yamas Mistovim. My son was in the Falda
not
unit.
to undermine other units, but they're in units where they're constantly seeing and experiencing
completely. Yeah.
So October 7th was whatever they were experiencing on steroids times a million.
Correct.
But they had already been exposed to that, and I'm sure that brings an even closer bond
Correct.
between the unit because it really is like all for
Yeah.
one and one.
My son Nathaniel, his first week in the unit, he saw the car ramming and children dead in Yerushalayim and things like that. And they would go and take information,
Yeah.
intelligence, and get into the villages and go manhunt for the people, the family, or people who set this thing down, where the blueprint people who put the blueprints together.
Wow.
So he was consistent. He saw a woman shot in the bus in Yerushalayim on the way in the Kota. So he's had a lot of really fast, crazy experience. Daniel had a lot of.
So at what point did you decide? Like your boys obviously felt like one had just finished their service, one was still in service. So they both felt like we still need to do our mission. At what point did you decide I'm getting up and I'm going too?
So Daniel was on the next flight over after Nathaniel. So they were not in the same flight. Right. It was one day apart. Daniel got when Daniel got to Israel, he's like, Abba, our equipment room is completely empty. There's nothing. There's hundreds of reserves coming in. We have nothing. If you see the equipment we have, it's a joke. We're gonna die. That's what he said. So when he went to Israel, he brought a bunch of equipment with him, whatever we were able to arrange. But it got seized at customs as soon as he landed. It got seized. They wouldn't let him bring him, and so he just went to the unit. They were preparing. It took about 8-9 days before they really entered Gaza. He was the first to step into Gaza. Wow. The 551. Yeah. Okay. And when they opened the gates to enter the war, he was the first one in.
Okay, so then you decide I need to go. When you hear
So
that, Daniel, you just
no, so what had happened was everyone started stepping in and donating, right? So I gave some funds to a GoFundMe from a friend of my son's that he was arranging, and then realized that the money was being held and there's no releasing the funds for a political or military or war or anything like. So GoFundMe froze. Yeah, correct. Okay. So when I got that call from Daniel, I started going to find, he's like, Abba, I need equipment for my unit, 24 helmets, 24 vests, 24, ceramics. No worries, Daniel. Don't worry, I got you.
how? How did you know what to get? I'm saying he's telling you, but where are you getting this stuff?
So I made call military stores. My warehouse in Gardena has a military supply store called A1 Surplus, which they're equipped for military. So I took whatever they had. That's one, and then called BK the Tacticals. Okay. I just started making calls everywhere: Montana, Kansas City, North Carolina, everywhere I was able to make calls to get whatever I'm able to, and that was that. And then he calls me on the phone. He's like, Dad, I can't. We're not 24 in the unit. We're 120 in the unit. Holy moly! All right, Daniel, don't worry about it. Focus on yourself. Focus on what you need. I got you. It's a lot of money because in first the helmets were 550, the vests were the ceramics were 350, right. The vests were about 500, and all of a sudden the prices started jumping from 550, 750, 1200 for a helmet. I'm like, oh. Then he calls me. He's like, later on, he's like, Abba, my unit, they formed us in 551. We're 450 soldiers. I'm like,
4 to 120.
this is gonna bankrupt me, but. So I took my line of credit for my house, my line of credit for my business. Wow. I'm all in. It's like, what? I can't have anything happen to my son. I can't. And his unit, they're all my children.
Can't just.
And I'm like, what's going to happen if something happens to my son? What is my home worth? What is my business worth? What's my life going to be? Nothing. Right. So I'm all in. And at this time, I went to the airport, started bringing luggages, making arrangements for someone from Israel to pick up the luggages. And
same issue is happening on the Israeli side with customs.
so my thing was, let me just get it to Israel. So everything was being held. They were not letting the people in to pick up the luggages. So thank God we sent a ton of equipment, and not only for my pockets. All of a sudden, the community, like, someone saw me at the airport, and he's like, "Oh, I have these things for pillows." I'm like, "Okay, well." He's like, "What's your address?" I thought he was going to bring me a box, All of a sudden, I get trucks and trucks coming in from everywhere. Clothing, used clothing. My whole house turned into a logistics center. Wow. And then equipment started coming in and medical supplies. I'm like, I sent my wife to Ross, TJ Maxx to get luggages. We spent thousands of dollars on just empty luggages to put it in, and going to the airport, and just met some really amazing people at the airport that were willing to take the luggages with them, because at first we sent 12 pallets to a warehouse, City of Industry, and those pallets disappeared. I'm like, how are we going to get, I need an airplane. I need to be on that plane.
Right. You need
I,
control
I
over
need
your stuff.
control. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started going to the airport, and in the lines, my wife and I and a few friends, I'm like, please, this is for soldiers. Put it, just leave it in the airport.
Right.
Leave it in the airport. So then I get on a flight with Louis Shriek. He waited for me in Israel. He got there before me, and Yigal Ben Amo, a good friend. We are on the flight together, and getting to El Al, we see hundreds of luggages just waiting for me at the back door, the back end of El Al where the storage is. So I start loading all the helmets first, all the important stuff, all the vests, ceramics, and Welcome to Israel was like, no, this stuff is being seized. I'm like, no, 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 no. This is not being seized. So I'm waiting there patiently, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Take the big crate wagon that they had. I loaded up like 35 luggages and put it in the truck. And then I'm driving. I'm leaving. I'm like, I'm not asking questions. So then I get phone calls from customs police. You have a guy who's like, where are you? We're all over. We shut the airport down. So I turned back around. I threw all the luggages behind bushes all around. I spread them in the airport all around. I came back with an empty truck, and I said, what do you guys want? It's done. There's nothing here. It's I already gave it out. Problems, problems after problems. But I didn't care. My mission was my mission. I got to keep every soldier alive.
And
And I didn't care.
these kinds of things, like they realize that like they don't have any Mila de Be-
There's no one.
and
Speak to the wall.
you're not budging. And sometimes they're like, okay,
That was that was my biggest. So I realized that being kind to them in the airport customs was not working, and everyone felt more powered, and they're not realizing like, this is my son here. Right. How dare you? Do you have a kid in a war right now? And it was just like speaking to a wall.
Right.
So I put them aside. I didn't give a
right
shit about them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I went for my mission, and I got those luggages out. Then I started calling some military people that I knew, and from different units that came and brought military trucks and were waiting for me. And I was just loading them, and I wasn't minding customs. They're like, you're going to be in big trouble. I'm like, it is what it is.
Right.
I don't care. I'll deal with it later.
This is what's most important.
Correct. So then I started learning about the Amutas and the nonprofits that belong to the units and stuff like that. So I started getting letters, and it started working out. Then I started receiving tons of calls from Miami, from New York. They're like, Eyal, you're the customs guy in Israel? I'm not the customs guy in Israel. He's like, listen, we have shipments, just go and take it. I'm like, who do you want me to give it to? So he's like, listen, we need like 40 luggages for these people, but the rest you could just disperse. So the challenge was finding those 40 soldiers,
Right.
that was like.
Right. So you flew to Israel when?
So I flew to Israel my first flight was about a week into after October 7th. I would say about the 14th, I believe, something like that.
How did that conversation go with your wife?
So my wife was just freaking out because the videos were very, very gruesome.
Yeah.
And it was nonstop crying, and the girls, my daughters, were absorbing it. I was crying inside. Right. I had major heartburn, major butterflies. I felt like I needed to vomit all the time. I was, but
it took
the fear. I had to put the fear aside. I had to put everything aside. My business aside, my wife, my kids in LA aside.
Right.
And focused on the mission.
But we're not talking about, I'm sure when you decided to go, you didn't understand what you were getting yourself into.
That's correct.
Because it's a bottomless pit at that.
Yeah. So my thing was to be close to the boys. My thing was not about bringing equipment and stuff like that. I was just I listened to my son what he needed, and I made it happen. Make sure that, hey, Daniel, I got you. What you need, I got. I'm behind you.
Right.
Do your thing. Stay alive. Take care of what you got to do, and I'm behind you. And then I wanted them to know that Abba's right here by the gates. I'm right here for you anytime. I'm as close as possible to you guys to give them that strength because
Right.
as strong as they are, you still need it.
I'm sure it also gave your wife and your kids here the comfort knowing
Correct.
that you're there, as hard as it might have been to also not have you here, to know that like he's there and he can give us real reports of what's going on, not what I'm seeing on Instagram, not what I'm seeing on
Correct.
Ynet News or the Israeli news or whatever. Not that I'm saying that it's not real, but when you see things, it's like when people ask me, like, isn't it scary to go to Israel? You're like, it's much scarier on the news. Like, it's not as scary when you go to Israel. Like, it's not as intense, or it is in the October 7th phase. But I'm saying, like, when people say today, like in the state that it's in, like the propaganda or the things that come out in the news that you're like, it's not. Or on the reverse side of like, they're like, isn't it scary to live in America with the anti-Semitism? Like, it's not that it's not there. It's just when you see something versus when you live it and you experience it, it's completely different.
Right. But there was a lot of trauma in Israel, and when I went to go bring the equipment to the kibbutzim for the soldiers, the 232, the road 232, was just the same way that you watched it on video. Right. There were still bodies there. There were still terrorist bodies there. The burned cars. There's bodies in the car still, and you're driving around with military.
Because you weren't on those rescue missions or those like those mitzvah missions or whatever that people were doing that like were later on when things did get.
No, I received a letter. I got the letter from the Yechidah, from the units, to go bring in the supplies they needed. So I was able to get anywhere, every base, even to get deep into Gaza, not where the face-to-face fighting was, but I was on the border inside Gaza.
So you were in Israel. We left October 14th from here.
Yeah.
How long were you there that time?
I was there for 3.5 months. Yeah.
3.5 months straight.
Straight.
Right. And you didn't start with the intention of fundraising. You just heard a need that your son had, took a line of credit on your house, on your business. You put everything on pause in your life. And then as a result of you doing that, people started calling you and donating.
Yeah. So I had, I knew several soldiers that were injured and wounded, and in both sons' units. So I said, I'm going to have letters from the school. So what had happened was I asked a few of the schools to write me letters for the soldiers, and I'm going to go and visit them. I ended up getting hundreds and hundreds of letters. I didn't expect stacks. So in the beginning, I was putting like $200, $300 in an envelope, in hundreds of envelopes.
Yeah.
So I went to Israel with about $150,000, $200,000 in cash, more or less. Cash.
Not scared about customs.
No, but I did everything by the book. Thank God, everything was done by our shul, and money. I never wanted to be involved in money.
Right.
I never wanted to be. That's
donate. It was to the show.
Everything was and even I had my own personal money in this pocket and donation money in this pocket. Sometimes maybe even $1 got switched. I took everything out I had and just put it all together. So God forbid there's not a single penny in Gaza. But it was just realizing, like, okay, we went through a crazy tragedy, but there's so much unity together. There's so much community. We're such a beautiful nation.
Right.
And now I understand why everyone wants to take us out, because we're so special.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that through something like this, you saw, like I'm saying, even in the LA community, like just everybody getting together, and the numerous challah bakes, the numerous like Tehillim groups and various WhatsApp chats and get-togethers and rallies and like all these things. Even when my kids like in school or solar, that like just let's get the kids together, let's do the 12 sukkim, and let's like say Pirkei Tehillim for the soldiers. Writing letters, finding a pen, like all these different things. And it was just like, it didn't always come down to money. Like there was things that we did beyond the money, but for you to go and be on the front lines and you have no obligation other than being a parent who is scared, and you turned your fear into something. But through that something, correct me if I'm wrong, you raised close to 2 million, if not over.
More than I've got goosebumps. I think it was more like close to $9 million of military equipment that we brought into Eretz
Because
Israel,
I know when you and
and
I spoke,
we
it was
raised we
that
raised
was a
we
long time.
raised over $2 million, and it went to first it started off with giving to the wounded soldiers in the hospitals, and then I was like so worried that how can I give to this room and not to this room? How can I miss a soldier? And they're all speaking about it, and how is it not fair for the other hospital? Because from Soroka they're being transported to Tel HaShomer,
Right.
and they're speaking. Did you get the envelope? And at first people didn't want the money. They got the letter, the biggest smile that in their faces, like I'm just here to bring smiles, and they just I met so many people in the hospital that it started going, and then from mother saying, "Hey, my son is injured, but my other son is in the war. Do you know anyone that can get him a helmet?" You know, and things
Right.
like that.
It just
It just turned into a big snowball effect, and I had zero sleep in Israel. I like maybe 20, 30, 40 minutes a night,
wow.
but I was on adrenaline, and I was like, Hashem, how am I still up? How am I not tired? And I saw the hand of Hashem in everything. In everything, I saw the hand of Hashem.
We've been doing coffee stations.
It was coffee
Right.
stations, barbecues. It was everything. And you know
It was
the
everything, but like there was things that you thought of that a lot of people wouldn't think of. That like for me, like I see that because I have that like not to toot my own horn, but I have that consideration piece within myself. So to like think of like, wow, they're spending 6 shekel on a coffee every single day. They don't have this money.
correct,
They're not working.
right.
Their kids are injured. They're not really getting their salaries or whatever it is. The hospital bills are adding up. Then yeah, then isn't that the last thing the parents need to do is be spending 6 shekels 3 times a day, 4 times a day on coffee. Let's buy them an espresso machine. It'll be cheaper.
Correct.
And you've got an espresso in Israel to donate and all the like
Correct.
it's these
Yeah.
things that like, okay, there's the obvious we need military gear, let's support them and give them the oomph and do a barbecue for them or a pizza party or whatever it was. But like the little things that really made the difference, the letters, the envelopes,
It
the
was just
coffee stations, like mama.
it's I want to cry thinking about it because it wasn't my it wasn't my ideas. It was like Hashem was just dropping things at me. And like the money that I was giving the soldiers, the letters were everything, right? But then afterwards they realized like, hey y'all, do you know that like the parking was 38 shekel every time in and out. I had to go pick up my son from the gun from the daycare, and I come back out and I have to pay again. And we were thinking the government's going to kick in and nothing's happening, and we actually used that money towards that.
Right.
Like, so it's just
And you don't like that's how we say like really every dollar counts because we don't think like 38 shekel as an American, most of us do the math. 38 divided by 4 divided by 3.5. We're like, it's fine. It's like what, $10? Like people can do it, right? But when you're doing that multiple times a day, you're not getting money, not getting salary, and even the pitsuim, like the severances or
right.
whatever from the army are not coming
It took months. It took months.
because they were bombarded. The system system crashed in every possible way, and to have this influx of coming in, which is why I think also like from October 7th to now to the Iran war that broke out, I do think that the Israelis in Israel felt like the Jews in the diaspora were not as supportive because October 7th we came in with a force and they felt it.
Correct.
I think from Iran, like we're all exhausted. And I don't mean that in an insensitive way at all to Israelis because we're not living it. We're not going through. We don't know what those sleepless nights with ballistic missiles are and all of those things and school being canceled and just being on eggshells the whole day with your kids being home and dealing with unprocessed trauma and anxiety from the first time
Before.
around, But like we came in with this force and from where I stood, like I remembered it was 2 million, but you're sitting here and you're saying 9 million and it's incredible. It's
Hmm.
incredible.
Yeah. So just like you said, we're all exhausted from this war, right? It's very exhausting. So can you imagine the soldiers that are still fighting
Right.
in Lebanon and dealing with this and still in Gaza, still going on? They're not talking about Gaza, but everyone's exhausted and our poor soldiers are very exhausted.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of trauma in Israel. There's a lot. It's going to be for hundreds of years. This trauma is not going to go away.
You came back 3.5 months later, then you went back again.
Yes, I went back again.
Okay.
So I was that year. I went back again. I would say total amount of time I spent that year was about 8 months or 9 months that year,
Wow.
2023, and then 2024 I was there for about 6 months. Not back to it was 2 parts.
But you're not working.
I'm not working
And you took out a line of credit on both your home and your
and my
business.
business, correct?
How are you surviving? If you don't mind me
And,
asking.
and I tell you, it's Hashem that put everything together. Hashem like made miracles happen. I saw everything. Everything was a miracle. My business was just fine without me being there. I couldn't believe it. And orders were coming in. I'm like, things that I didn't sell in for a while were selling. It was just the hand of Hashem. Just like I was telling my son Daniel, don't worry, I got you. Abba's here is the same thing that Hashem was telling me, I got you. And I'm like, Hashem, thank you. I can't thank you enough. I was in the car 1, 2 in the morning, just reviewing my day because every day was just focused on today.
Right.
And my day was like, if I think about it now, I get exhausted. I get exhausted because I would pull all nighters in the hospital, sleep with them. Soldiers weren't sleeping at night. Their parents had to go take showers. They couldn't do the whole week.
Right.
So I was there with soldiers on bed, sleeping on the floor in rooms. Right. The floor was cold as ice, but I was still there to hold their hands and then wake up, wash my body in the sink of the hospital. And wherever I'm able to find a shower, I showered cold water under a tank. The soldiers were giving me shampoos under cold water. I was doing it with the same with putting a towel and having myself washed up. And then my routine was from the hospital to the airport, from the airport to go drop off all equipments in the kibbutzim where the soldiers are preparing to leave.
Yeah.
All the buses getting ready to go into the, handing them out. And then I was receiving enormous amount of things like tefillin, tzitzit, whatever. I was opening luggages. Okay, toys. Put the toys aside. Put it in the trunk. Let me.
What's important.
Everything. Yeah, and I was a one man show. I was a man, one man. I'm like, help Hashem. I can't do that. I gotta get these stuff to the. And then I know I have.
The body also needs a little bit of rest.
Correct. I had no rest. Thank God. Hashem really gave me that.
Wow.
And then there was so many miracles. Like the first Shabbat, I arranged for 1,200 soldiers for food for Friday night and Shabbat, and it costed about $10,000 to $12,000 around from a catering company.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm doing you a favor because this wedding got canceled and I got the food, this and that. So I'm like, okay, but how am I going to do next week? $10,000 a week is a lot of money. So then they called me and say, listen, all the mifunim, all the people that had to leave their homes are in Yerucham. So I went over there. This woman kept calling me, Sivan, you got to come and help us. Okay, tomorrow. I kept pushing away.
And I'm imagining that your number is just getting bounced from person to person to person.
I had to answer every call because my son Daniel, I had no communications with Daniel or Nathaniel.
Which phone number was calling you?
He didn't have his phone.
Right.
He wasn't allowed to have his phone. So I would say, okay, it's Daniel. It's Nathaniel. I got to answer the call. Oh my God, another call of help. All right, Hashem, maybe this is what this call was meant to be. Protect my kids, please. Right. I'll do whatever it needs to be done. So it went like that. And then I go to Yerucham to see the mifunim, what they needed. They needed just dry canned foods and some clothes. I had a bunch of clothes that people sent me. I took luggages and just dropped it off. And then I go to this yeshiva, girls yeshiva, and they put like little snacks for soldiers in the intelligence unit, underground unit in Yerucham. So I told them, what, they're eating this stuff? They're like, no, they're too spoiled. They don't eat all they're eating all day is chocolate with bread. They're not eating the military food because it's disgusting. So I'm like, you know what? Tuesday night I'll do a barbecue for them over there, and I'll. So I got to meet them one-on-one, and I'm like, oh my God, these people are so special. They're the heart of the war. They're controlling everything from above. So I said, I'm gonna start doing Shabbats for you guys, and 2 times a week we'll do schnitzel and the shuk and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So you guys eat proper food. And then I open the yeshiva, the girls' yeshiva in Yerucham. I see a full kitchen closed. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
They're like, it's closed. All the girls left back to Australia, to Canada, to the US. I'm like, let me speak to the members. So I speak to the guy, Boaz, and he wanted a certain amount of money a month. I'm like, done, 4,000 shekel a month. Take it. Let me use it. So I called the guy from the catering. I'm like, listen, I'm not going to use you for Shabbat anymore. I'm sorry, we don't have any money. He's like, if you want, I have a few of my chefs and cooks. You could use them. So he brought me some, and I got some girls from Yerucham, from the local. They started cooking up. I should have brought Galit. I should have. But I started loading the kitchen with all this food for Shabbat, for schnitzel sandwiches, sulika sandwich, and we just deliver it to the Hummers. And all of a sudden, this whole operation became on its own. That's one part. Then the military equipment is another part, and the barbecue is another part, and Bikur Cholim is another part. So all of a sudden, it's like, holy moly, this grew into a big operation. And then
How do you decide, like you said, which one is more important than the
so
other?
they were all important. So what happened is I started taking on people. You're in charge of the kitchen.
Yeah.
This is going to be, you're going to get $100 a day. You're going to be in charge of all these people. Here's my credit card, the supermarket, the butchers, you just keep whatever she needs, the fish, send it. The bakery in Beersheba, my credit card, they just kept delivering whatever they needed. So and I was always worried I'm going to run out of money, but money never ran out. I'm like, Hashem, how is this possible? How, I'm like calling Eliezer from our shul. Eliezer, we have any money in the account? Let me check. Yeah, we have like $90,000 right now. I'm like, it was empty yesterday. I'm like, holy moly. So, it's like when things I came to realize, when everything is 110% pure with nothing to gain from, Hashem is going to lead the way. That's what I came to realize.
Yeah.
Everything worked out.
It's incredible that from one simple phone call from your son, scary one,
Scary.
but from one simple phone call of saying, I don't have the equipment that I need, led you on this insane mission,
Crazy.
crazy mission.
Yeah.
And tell me, when you're in Israel, you said you're sleeping maybe 30, 40 minutes a night. You come back here, I'm sure there's a crash of adrenaline, but at the same time, people in the community are so excited to see you and happy to see you because you're there. They want to hear from you. What's going on? What are you doing? Tell us. And you still kind of are boots on the ground fundraising, because in the back of your mind, I'm sure you're like, I got to go back. I got to do
Yeah.
more. So
So
what is that difference?
when I arrived here, it was very hard to get on the flight knowing my kids are still in the war in Gaza. And I didn't have a second to think of what was going on. And when I landed and I just crashed. I crashed. It was like, but then the phone calls kept coming in from Israel all night, different hours.
Yeah.
3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. Now I got to answer the calls because it's Daniel, it's Nathaniel,
Right.
it's, and it was a lot of calls from soldiers that say, "Y'all, I miss you. Where are you?" From from Tel Shomer, from Soroka, Bellington.
Did you put somebody in your place to do that?
So I opened, correct. So I opened, when I left, I opened a volunteer group, and every month I changed September, October, November, December, and I had 20 people like, Eyal, I'm here in Israel. What can I do to help? I need to keep busy. My Shiva's closed, or different things. And I just put people on tasks, and I came to prepare for my oldest son's wedding. That was everything was just in the air, and they had the date, and the date was coming closer. And I'm like, Hashem, you got to help me. I'm not looking forward to this wedding, but at the same time, it's my son. I got to give him that attention also. Right. But everything.
And Nathaniel and Daniel were able to come for this.
So it's crazy. So I called the commanders, because now every time Daniel came into different unit, which they split up, he was a sniper, so he was not with his team. So now I'm calling that commander and I'm saying, listen, I'm trying to be as gentle as possible. It's like, when Daniel will be able to, he's like, we're not in a kindergarten class. This is a war.
Right.
Go deal with your wedding. Your son is got to stay here. So I'm like, oh my God, So just prayers and the goodness. And I believe that truly, that I'm not trying to take any credit or anything that what I've done, but I think the things that I've done, Hashem really protected my kids and other soldiers, and gave me the comfort also. At the end, like a week before the wedding, my boys called me. He's like, Abba, we're coming home for the wedding.
Wow.
I was like,
sure, like right away, like
it was,
and then sending them back after.
that was the hardest. You had, I had them, but when I
And this
had
whole
them,
time, when you were in Israel for those first 3.5 months, were you seeing them or was it just phone call?
just phone calls. I was able to go and see him 18 hours when he got a breather after his 28 days straight. I went to Ashkelon to this little retreat place where he was just a breather. He smelled like, but I didn't care. I held him on. I held all the soldiers. I was one of the only parents that were allowed to enter into them because other parents were waiting by the parking lot for their kids, but they were so tired that they were just on the floor. And I have videos of them just being on the floor, just saying, oh, "Thank you for the equipment." Different soldiers. I didn't even know who they were. Not only for my son's unit, it just became,
Wow.
you know,
So you got to see him for 18 hours.
I got to see him for 30 minutes from those 18 hours. Yeah, yeah, just a hug and then going. So every time it was just holding on, and he held on to me like never before. It was for me. It was like I remember when he was born, and I held him on like this. It was the same feeling of emotions
Wow.
and a lot of fear. And when I let go and get back in the car, cry my lungs out, give support to my wife that everything's fine, he's great. But my wife, it would be 3 in the morning, and I hear my two daughters up with my wife too. My wife is crying. I'm like, babe, you got to stay strong. The girls are next to you. It's like, I know I'm trying. She was like trying to hold it, but,
Right.
and then I hear my girls in the background crying also, trying to calm them down. Then you hang up the phone and you get all the emotions from everywhere. And yeah,
Wow. And I can't imagine like those those moments of like being told like, okay, like now it's time for you to go. Like you need to leave.
yeah, I, I I wouldn't be able to handle it again. If I was to reverse time and go back again to where it was, I wouldn't be able to do it. I don't think I would have the powers or the energy or the strength. You know, as much as you have faith in you, there's also a lot of fear. There's also a lot
Yeah.
of fear.
The fear, you didn't get stuck in your
I didn't get stuck.
you often say,
I didn't get stuck in the fear because I knew I had a job to do. And it wasn't about leadership. It wasn't about title. Eyal, Eyal, Eyal. It was about my importance to get things done that
right.
need to get done. And I'll have it done however way, but it will get
Right.
done. That was my,
So now Daniel is here, DJ Daniel,
that, yes, correct.
and Nathaniel is still in Israel.
Nathaniel's back also
He's
now.
back
Yeah, he's
now
awesome.
also.
My daughter is in Israel.
She's
Yes.
how do you I mean not let okay, but I'm gonna use the word how do you let them go to the army? Like how I don't even let my kids go to play dates or sleepaway camp.
So I'll tell you from the day they were born, when every time we would go to Israel, the first place I would take them before anywhere, the shul, before the kotel, before the beaches, the fancy restaurants, the shul,
Yeah.
we would stop first at Har Herzl. That's the first place.
Right.
And I would make my kids go to 100 graves and salute them from the age of, from baby. And I have videos from them being little kids, and we wouldn't go anywhere until they salute all the graves, and not knowing October 7th would ever come. And then I took Daniel and the boys to a, a, a military museum because I was born under Har Herzl in Bet Kerem, right
Yeah.
underneath. I remember being 4 years old and hearing the gunshots, and every time there was gunshots, it means there's a military funeral.
Funeral.
So they would never allow me to come in from the back. In Yerushalayim, I would climb the mountain, the Yar, the forest,
Yeah.
and get into the funeral, and I would be there. And people would think I'm part of the family or something, but I would be at the funeral, and it really stuck with me
Yeah.
since a baby. And in Yom HaZikaron, they would always build a military base right in front of Har Herzl. And I was just a little kid. I would take my dad's alcohol and put it in a backpack and my mom's cakes that she made for Shabbat and stuff, and go back and forth and put it in their tents. I just always loved soldiers.
Right.
So going back to, I took my boys in Latun to the museum, the tank museum where Yom
Yeah.
Kippur and stuff. My father was
And
in
my
the,
dad
to,
took it.
my father served in the 67 in the Yom Kippur War. And I took my boys and my kids there, and all of a sudden Daniel disappears. And I'm looking for him, and he's about 9 years old. And then we finally find him with a group of soldiers that just finished their kumta. They just finished doing the 50 kilometer,
Yeah.
and he's sitting with them. eating with them and just talking to them, like, wow, you know. And then he went to the EULA trip in Poland, and he came back. He's like, Abba, I'm going to the army. Like, okay, okay, Daniel, it's gonna wear off.
Right. Waiting for this to
Yeah, it's gonna
it's a
wear off.
phase.
It's a phase. We get this big package in the mail. Abba, you gotta sign this. I'm like, okay, we'll sign it. We'll sign it. I take him to dinner. I'm like, Daniel, I'll get you this car. I'll get you this. You got you have you want to be a sports physical therapist. You have, you know, but at the same time, you don't want to push away his dreams because a kid is,
Right.
he's like, I'm set. So I gave him all my blessings. I went, spoke to my wife. She's like, oh, you have to convince him differently. But then I saw when he became a soldier, what he gained, that my wife and I let Nathaniel go easily. And even throughout the war and all the trauma we've gone through, my daughter said, Abba, I want to go to the military. I want to be madrichat kliya, shooting instructor. And thank God she went in, and now she's in the intelligence unit. So, and yeah,
So you're still shitting your pants a little bit with your daughter.
not as much as the boys. The trauma. Listen, I've aged 20 years, 30 years with the boys being in the army in the war. But I'll tell you something that before the war, there was so much division between us. And during the war, we all came together, such beautiful people from all religion and faiths and political views. Everyone just came together. That hospital was like, there was so much love in Tel HaShomer.
Yeah.
You see old women that are like 85 getting off a bus with a basket of cookies and breads and boekas and whatever their ethnicity, cultural food were.
Right.
They were there with a 85, 90-year-old that
Everyone
could
doing what they can.
everyone. If the war didn't kill them, that soldiers would end up dying with cholesterol and all the carbs and the sugars that the people threw at them.
Nice.
Yeah, it was all there. Yeah, but we have the most special nation in the world. Really, I love our people. Love our people, and after this war, there was so much help that the LA was part of the war. Like we made a difference in the war. And I came back loving the community so much more than I did before.
Yeah.
And I want to do everything for our community the same way. Like I just want to wrap them with love, for everything that they did because they they were out to just support my wife and I. We had hundreds of calls, as much as it may have been annoying and like things out of like, it's not things that you want to tell a parent right now. Like you want to give them certain support, but not the
Right.
stupid questions. But you still like, appreciate everyone
Are you still getting phone calls to this day?
nonstop,
Oh,
nonstop.
how do you manage it?
I got to do it. It's part of my life. My family is annoyed by it, but you can't. You can't. I get a call from a soldier that wishes to go back to the hospital, wishes to go back to the rehabilitation. He can't stay
Right.
home. He's got no legs. He was cool and up and going and jokative at the hospital. But when they came home, they come home to darkness.
Yeah.
So that's one big thing that changed my life forever. I'm a very happy person, but I also I brought back a lot of darkness and a little bit of depression. I try to overcome the depression
Right.
not because I'm a depressed person. I know that like
Saw you exposed to so much
exp-
so quick. See, and we're not talking about we're talking about exactly what you said, seeing bodies burned on the side of the road, just left there because nobody could tend to them.
so
That's
I've
not a
seen
normal thing for you to see, and not you're not seeing one, you're seeing it on the massive.
yeah, not only the burned bodies was bad, but I've had times in the hospital where I'm like, Hashem, please take them, take them, don't let them live.
Suffering from that.
They're just suffering. I've seen a situation in the Soroka hospital in the very beginning where there was a mother sitting by a glass room where the sun is burnt, like really bad. You can't see. And she's just praying, Tehillim, Tehillim, Tehillim. And the rabbi from Ramstein, the rabbi at the Soroka is like, it was a very sad case. You remember the woman that was davening? They found out that wasn't her son. It was her son's car that his friend jumped in the passenger seat, she found out her son was killed. He was burned, and the DNA came back. The DNA was coming back 20, 30, 40, 50 days later. It wasn't, right. They were not able to do it. So that's just like, that's like, and then you see a certain situation and you see the screaming of the soldier that can't handle it anymore. And PTSD. So hard parts is when soldiers are completely injured and they found out that their close friends also fell in battle and that they made it and their friends didn't make it. What do you tell that soul? Yeah, and you come into that room, what do you tell that person that's like got no legs and no arms and is missing an eye? What, hey, Manishma? Manishma? No, there's nothing to say. So he's just like, we just came to thank you and give you support. We're from LA. And all of a sudden, when you bring out that letter and you show it to them, like with the smile, and then the next day you see the letter being hanging on the wall in front of their face. That was special, but there was a lot of trauma. There was a lot of trauma.
If you don't mind me asking, when you came back here, did you have to go to therapists and like
I went to a therapist online with a woman from North Carolina that she handled military, and I closed myself in a room and I was talking normally to her, and I've never cried so much in my life. I've never. It was like, times I just sometimes remember a certain situation and I just ball out. I'm a strong person, but
because you weren't physically in the war fighting in Gaza and but like you see things,
a whole different
body is
war.
gonna take you and you're gonna see a flashback or woken up in the middle of the night from something
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. There was one case where I've been helping the widows for the past 2.5 years. And when I first went to the widows, it was not like just here's the money, go buy, because you can't. That's not a good thing. Right. They don't need your money. So I would go and drive in hours, different parts of Israel, and then knock on the door and say hi. We're here from just to thank you and tell us about because they need someone to speak to.
Yeah.
And one time in Yericho, Malé Adumim area, I knock on the door and I hear this 3-year-old Abba, and that was like, my God. So let me run. I can't come into it right now. It was like, hey, take a deep breath, relax, just play okay. And then the door opens and I see like 7 children on the floor from all ages, and then there was a 10-year-old that ran into a room and came back out with a healing book with a picture of their father, and he just gave it to me like that. Like, I guess they were giving out books, and he right off the back. And I spent like 15, 20 minutes in every house, but I had all this money, and I also at the same time needed to make sure to disperse the money appropriately. And how, like, I would come and see 8 kids and 3 kids and 2 kids, and then I would fix the envelopes, and that's a whole different thing.
We did an event, Lynn and I, we did it at Baskusa.
Yeah.
That night, I think we raised like 14 or 15K, and the next day you were on a plane with it
Correct.
to Israel.
Yeah.
And I just remember like thinking like more than the event, like first of all, people showed up to come out, like LA really showed up to come out to support Israel. Any event that was for Israel in support of, like they were there. Whether it was the tying of the tzitzit, the challah bake, the basbusa event, like whatever it was, people showed up, donated, did whatever they could. Like everybody that I contacted, yes, 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 yes. And I was like, wow, like our community is so amazing. It's just incredible. But to then have all of this money and be responsible,
That was my
make the
biggest.
call of like, who do you give $100 to, and who do you give $1,000 to? Who do you give 500 to, and who do you give 700 to? And in Israel, whether it's $100 or $1,000, it goes like this.
A second.
I don't know how. It really feels like monopoly money, but it goes so quickly that like exactly like you said, the money is appreciated, of course, but the connection, the somebody to talk to just listen to them, to hear what they're going through, is worth so much more.
Correct.
Than the envelope that you're giving them.
That's correct.
And the absorption of the trauma that you're coming back.
Yeah, and for me, it's like the trauma that it's always continuous with me because
Yeah.
I get phone calls like I just received a beautiful video from Yonatan Benamu, and it was before his leg amputation. He's going into surgery, and I made him a promise that I would bring him to LA and take him to the Laker game. That was one of the promises. But then, when these soldiers are injured and they lose their legs, and a lot of their confidence goes down with them. As much as they may seem happy and try to cheer you up, but in closed doors, their confidence. And some of the soldiers, like, I'm like, dude, I'm not worth anything. My girlfriend's gonna leave me. And one of the soldiers, I'm like, I'm gonna be at your wedding. I promise you, I'm gonna be at your wedding. And the mother says to me, "Do you remember what you told my son?" I'm like, "Absolutely." And I have a video of him from that was sent from someone else because I gave him another envelope, and he says, "Eyal, oh Eyal, he promised the Laker tickets and being at my wedding. And on July 3rd, I'm gonna be at his wedding." That's not the show. See, there's hope, there's resilience, there's
Yeah.
everything.
Because to them, it means everything. Like to us, it's just like, what did I do? I just went and visited them. What did I already do? But like, we don't realize like the simplest text, the smallest things, the phone call, the text, hey, how are you? I'm thinking of you.
Correct.
How's it going? Like it's lehavdil elef havdalot. Like when people say like Shiva, right? When somebody's sitting Shiva, like the first month, everybody's kind of there for the
Mm-hmm.
first 7 days
Right.
and then the shlishi. But
Correct.
then like when everything's settled, that's the scariest part. That's when the darkness sets
Correct.
in and that person who lost somebody is really, so it's like now is when they need us the most. And we
Yeah. So the awareness that I'm trying to set and been letting people know is that it's okay to continue your life. Everyone continues their
yeah,
life, but don't forget those that are in darkness because they're not headline news. These are families. These are kids of parents. These are friends. And okay, so one day you see the news, a name, and don't just, okay, forget about them. Remember that name.
yeah,
And that's where it took me to make the Sefer Torah, all.
yeah. So what would you, two last questions for you is what is something that you've taken with you that has kind of changed you to this day? What would October 6th AL, pre October 7th, and AL sitting here today? Like what surprised you the most of like who you've become today from that?
First of all, the resilience, the nation, the unity that we have, the love for one another, um, and our strength, and understanding that from the very beginning of time that people wanted to destroy the Jewish nation, we only came out stronger. And this was evidence. This was all me witnessing it. No matter what the situation, how bad the soldiers were injured, they're like, we want to go back to the war. We have to fight for our country. Everything was for our country. It's the only way of survival. And from October 6th, realizing that, you know what, everything was done by Hashem.
Yeah.
There's no question. You
Yeah.
know, we had to go to that darkness because before October, if you have a second to explain,
Yeah. Yeah.
to October 7th, I went to go visit my boys for Pesach. We're going to surprise them. So one of my boys I knew was going to be out. The other one was not available to come out. So I landed. It was Friday also. Landed around 2 p.m. And my aunt is throwing a huge Passover Seder with my son Daniel that's going to be there. And then I go on Guish, the first Guish one,
Yeah.
the one to Yerushalayim, and I'm flying, and I'm so excited. And all of a sudden, around 4 p.m., it comes to a complete stop. So we're waiting there for like 5 p.m., 5:30, 6 o'clock. I'm like, oh my God, we're not moving. So then I start seeing people reversing their cars and taxi drivers outside. It's like, hey, it's Afghana, Afghana, there's
Yeah.
the gun here. And I'm waiting patiently, and I'm reversing my way, but I'm not going around. I'm going to Yerushalayim. And so I start driving on the off-roading with the rental car, destroying the rental car. I'm like, I got to see whatever it is. I got to see my son. And as I get closer and closer and closer, I see religious people. I'm like, and I started cursing them out. I thought that they're the ones who close the roads. And I keep going, and I see at the end, I see the leftists, the liberals who are trying to overturn, Bibi and all that stuff, they completely shut down Yerushalayim from entering. And here I was cursing out rabbis and other people, thinking that these guys are doing it. What had happened was the poor people parked their cars and started walking for Shabbat and Pesach, all the way from like Bet Shemesh into Yerushalayim. So that was that. I was so angry about it. I was so angry. And then we go again in August, and with my wife and I to see the boys. And I'm like, I'll plan a little few day getaway to Montenegro, in and out. And we go to the airport, and the same people shut down the airport. So we missed our flight. And I was so angry. It was so upsetting. Why? No. But then when this war happened, we realized it's like there's so much unity between us that don't let this small percentage of division make Israel look as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And I mean, I'm still processing what you said, and I'm sure that's not even 3% of what you went through, what you saw. But I think I speak and myself and on behalf of the LA community to really thank you, Eyal.
There's absolutely no need to thank me.
But there is, because you
This
went,
was
and to thank your wife, Galit, and your daughters that like were okay with you not okay or not okay. It was what you all as a family unit
thank you.
felt like you needed to do. And if you are still fundraising, then please like let me know, and I can let the listeners.
The fundraising that I would do is just to let the people know that they can fundraise themselves. They don't need me. They can do it themselves. There's plenty of people to help in Eretz Yisrael. They want phone numbers, I'll give phone numbers. I'd rather not receive money because it's a workload. It's more responsibility. And I wish I didn't need to receive the money. I just know that people in Eretz Yisrael.
One thing that I will say to the listeners is that I remember when we were fundraising here, and I had told you that I had given a portion to some organizations, and won't name them for now, but that you very much stressed finding somebody reputable and giving it directly to them. So if you know a mother or a widow or a soldier or somebody in the hospital or somebody who needs whatever, like it's better to give it directly to them than through an organization, because it just, the process, the bureaucracy, it takes so much longer. But really, Eyal, like, thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you for
Really
having me here.
inspired me in this conversation.
Thank you. It's the other way around. Thank you. Toda.